I want to share with you what you can expect from a yoga therapy session. And I am going to share this with you based on my own personal experience. That is my commitment as a teacher, that I will only speak to my own personal experience, not just something I read in the book, and I'm not also going to share my client's experience. But one of my most impactful yoga therapy sessions happened when I was in training, my level 2 training. So we had already gone through level 1. There was a bit of experience in what a session looks like, and we were exchanging with one another. In the last exchange, I was paired up with this guy that was about 80 years old. I'm really not exaggerating. He was about 80 years old, and him and his wife had done this yoga therapy training 30 years prior, something ridiculous, and they decided that they were going to get recertified and become yoga therapists. They did not pass the test, but there I was in my final exchange with this gentleman who was 80 years old, who had horrible breath, but a heart of gold. And he was the facilitator, and I was receiving the yoga therapy session. And so at that time, this is about 15, 20 years ago, I'd been in therapy like 2 times a week, really digging deep and healing. If you know my story, then you know that I was healing from an eating disorder, but that led me to the path of yoga and truly healing the wounds of my heart that led to adopt such a behavior such as an eating disorder, and brought me back home to myself through the path of yoga. So at that time, my therapist and I were talking about some things that happened when I was growing up, and she would oftentimes tell me, you can talk about it, but I don't feel the emotion. Like, it's like you're not tapped into the pain or the loss or whatever you fill in the blank. And she had a point, she was right. It felt just a little bit distant, like I couldn't really connect to it. But a part of me felt also that if I really felt into that the pain would be so big that it would destroy me. You know, I wonder if you can relate to that. So, okay, so back to this yoga therapy session that I was in with this guy, let's just call him Bob, and he was 80 years old and had really bad breath. He actually leaned me back into a posture that we could use. You put a blanket between you and the person, and he was in a way holding me. And I don't know what happened, because here's the deal about yoga therapy sessions. When you are present, when you are open, and when you're in the flow of them, who knows what could rise to the surface, okay? This is why it's really important as a facilitator, as a therapist myself, that I have no agenda and that I'm truly meeting my client exactly as they are, with whatever is arising, with unbiased awareness, right? No judgment. No judgment in these sessions. So there I was, and one thing led to another, and he put me back into this pose, and all of a sudden I felt it. I felt what I had been running from my whole life, and it was bubbling up inside of me. And I'm thinking, wow, this is like the worst time ever. Why couldn't this happen when I was in the couch in my therapist's office, where she could wipe my tears and pat my back, and it would be the safe container? Why is it happening now while Bob is holding me, breathing his bad breath into my face, and all of my colleagues are there lined up taking notes about the session? But it was coming. It was like this, you know, this huge emotional wave that I just could not stop, and it was coming for me. And I even remember saying in that moment, oh my goodness, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. And I just felt this huge wave, and there was this choice I had to make, to feel it, to let it in. And something magical happened in this moment. As soon as I opened the door, as soon as I surrendered to that emotional tsunami that was coming at me, I took one breath, surrendered to it, and you want to know what happened? Not a single tear. I hysterically laughed for 15 minutes straight. And this is such an amazing story to highlight the power of these sessions. It made me realize in that moment that the thing that I was running from my whole life, the fear, like that quote from Joseph Campbell, that the cave you are afraid to enter holds the treasure that you seek. I was afraid to enter that cave, to feel into that pain. I thought it was going to destroy me. And all it took was a willingness to feel it, and there was no pain. I opened the door to freedom. I was free, just in my willingness to face the darkness. And this potency of these sessions has stayed with me since that moment. I always think you just never know what could come up in these sessions if you're open, right? And so that's a really big experience that I had. And that's something that you could potentially walk away with from one of these sessions, just a tremendous healing experience. That's what I would call that. Okay, so you might be wondering, so are there yoga poses? Is this going to be a workout? Again, what to expect when you come to a yoga therapy session. Sometimes there's yoga asana, sometimes not so much. Totally depends. Yes, if you're coming for a physical therapeutic session, there's obviously going to be a therapeutic plan in place to help the rehabilitation. But if you're coming to just explore your internal landscape, then who knows what postures might present themselves. One time I walked into a yoga therapist's office for a session I was receiving. I walked in and she offered me a seat, but I had driven like 90 minutes to go see her. And so I said, I feel good. I think I'm just gonna stand. Well, for the rest of the hour session, I stood in Tadasana as I received my yoga therapy session. And it was this whole play for me about where I was in my life and how I really wanted to move forward, but I was kind of stuck in Tadasana. I was stuck, and maybe Samasthiti, standing at attention, just waiting for that green light in my life to really move forward. And so we had this big play about what it felt like to stand at attention, the urge to lean forward, was there fear, and all of this throughout the session. I walked away with a greater understanding of how I wanted to move forward in life regarding a work project and something in my personal life. That the session, although it was just one pose, Tadasana, which you think is meaningless, it really opened up tremendous clarity for me. A recent session that I had with the same yoga therapist, my go-to for receiving sessions, I came to a session with an intention. I wanted to explore this block that I felt in my life. At the time, I had to make a decision. I had to go left or I had to go right. And I didn't know which one I should go in. And it felt very foreign for me to feel that sense of disconnectedness from myself about a decision to make. And so I came to her saying, this is how I feel in my life. I feel like I'm at this block. I'm blocked. I need to go this way or I need to go this way, but I'm just blocked. And it's just me, and I'm in the dark and I can't see the way forward. What happened next? Wow. She put a blanket on top of me, and suddenly I was in that place that I feel inside myself, in the darkness, up against a corner, not sure what decision that I could make. And then the session continued as she put her hand on my back, and suddenly I felt this tremendous reminder that I'm not alone when I'm in the dark. And as the session continued to play out, I became more and more comfortable in the darkness. I became more present to that there wasn't actually a block in my life that I needed to immediately bust through or find my way forward, but that this time in my life is about staying in the darkness. It's about waiting until true clarity arises. So I came to the session feeling blocked, uncertain, desperately wanting to make a decision to get out of that place of feeling stuck where I felt so alone. And I left with a deep appreciation and reverence for my period in the dark, that I can stay there, that I am truly not alone in those moments, and that waiting for true clarity to arise is a sign of progress on the path and spiritual maturity. These are 3 different sessions that I received, all 3 very different outcomes. My intention was different, they looked different as far as postural work, and I walked away with something different. Yet all of them had something in common, which was a therapist's unbiased awareness, a practitioner's creating a container, a space where I have the ultimate freedom to dive into any depth of myself that I choose to go to share whatever's arising without fear of judgment or being analyzed or even over-processed. To sum this up, these yoga therapy sessions are less intellectual, less talkative, and more somatic. They are more deep feeling. They are about presence, true presence with yourself, rather than a psychological process. And when we are able to be with the depths of ourselves and to have someone's hand on our back without giving their opinion, right? Like giving their opinion, passing judgment, you should, you shouldn't, but to really just have a unbiased presence while we look into our darkness, while we face our fears, and while we shed some tears. This can be tremendously healing, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. I hope that this was helpful in some way, shedding light on what you could expect receiving a yoga therapy session. If I could help you in any way along your journey, please know I am here to support you as best as I can. It is both my duty and my honor to sit beside you as you turn into yourself and walk yourself home to your deepest heart. Namaste.